Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're actually opening up a textbook,
Oh, yeah. Which one?
an English textbook. It's one used by senior high school students over in Indonesia.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and we're digging into a study that really analyzed this book closely. The mission really is to figure out what kind of cultural stuff is actually in its pages.
And just as importantly, how it's being presented, right? Because language learning, it's not just about the grammar rules.
Exactly. Culture comes along with it.
Totally. And this study looked at a specific book, Pathway to English for SMAMA Grade X. That's the senior high level there. They used a method, critical content analysis.
Okay, critical content analysis. So they, went through it page by page?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Systematically looking for any cultural information
Yeah.
in the reading texts, the pictures, any recordings that came with it.
Even specific sections on culture.
Yeah, they had those two cultural awareness sections. They checked everything.
And did they find much?
They did. They counted it all up, found 14 reading texts, 20 pictures, 30 audio recordings, and 7 of those dedicated cultural sections.
Okay.
And they saw this cultural info popping up across 4 main topics that the study identified.
Okay, now here's where I thought it got really interesting based on the analysis. The reading texts, they found those were actually quite balanced, like roughly equal info about target culture. So English-speaking countries and the local Indonesian culture.
Yeah, on paper, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? A nice balance in the reading.
It does.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the whole story, was it?
No, not at all. When they looked at the other parts, the pictures, the recordings, those cultural awareness bits, well, the balance disappeared. Those parts leaned heavily towards the target culture, much less focus on local stuff there.
So you might read about both worlds, but what you see and hear is mostly pointing towards, say, the U.S. or the U.K.
That's what the analysis suggests, yeah. A definite skew in the visual and audio elements.
And there are issues with the quality, too, right? It wasn't just about the balance.
Exactly. They flagged some weaknesses, like some reading text, and a lot of the pictures were just too general.
General how? Like, not specific enough.
Yeah, lacking those specific cultural details that really make something relevant or, understandable. And a very practical point, all the pictures were just black and white.
Oh, really? Black and white?
Yeah, and apparently not very detailed either, which you can imagine makes it kind of hard to show cultural nuance visually.
Definitely. Okay, so let's think about the student using this book. You've got this imbalance, some generic content, blurry black and white pictures. What does that mean for them?
Well, it could be a challenge. The study sort of raises this question, like, if the culture you're seeing and hearing feels distant or maybe a bit bland and non-specific,
Yeah.
how well can you actually connect with the language, connect it to real people, real places, whether that's the target culture or your own culture, if that's not really reflected much.
Right. It could feel a bit abstract, and a bit removed.
That's the potential risk, that disconnect. But interestingly, the study didn't just point out the problem, it had a suggestion.
A practical one.
Very practical. It wasn't about, throwing out the textbook. It was more about empowering the teacher.
Okay. How so?
The idea was that teachers should actively adapt and supplement the book, like bring in their own material.
To fill the gaps.
Exactly. Find other resources, activities, maybe videos or local articles that bring in more about Indonesian culture and norms to kind of rebalance things in the classroom themselves.
So putting the power, or maybe the responsibility, onto the educator to create that richer context.
Precisely. It's about balancing the context for their specific students.
Okay, let's try and sort of sum this up then. We often think of language textbooks as, I don't know, a window onto a new world, right?
That's a common way to put it.
But what does it mean if that window mostly shows just one part of the view? Or if the view it does offer is kind of fuzzy, a bit generic?
Yeah, it's a really important question to ask.
It makes you wonder, how much genuine deep culture, whether it's the target culture or the student's own, is actually getting through. And what important bits might just be getting, lost.